But tell me, so you've sold something for 19 million. How do you, you're under, are you under 30? I don't even know.
Yeah, 28.
Yeah, 28. You're 28, you're selling $19 million properties. You're pretty much number one in Maroubra for selling both apartments and houses. Mate, how do you start to get to where you are today?
I think probably for me, I just wanted to get in amongst probably for that more premium end or probably the higher scale of agent from a younger age, really.
Yeah.
I was in leasing from the age of 18, never intended to come into real estate at all. Obviously coming up in my family with mum being in the industry for 35 years, I was obviously always a footy based background, studied marketing, never really wanted to come in. And I used to be told in the family growing up, real estate, you never want to be involved because it's a dog of an industry. It's full on.
It's so funny because I had the same experience. I only wanted to be a real estate agent, so the opposite.
Yeah.
But my family was the same. You don't want to work in real estate.
Yeah, no, it's obviously it's quite an aggressive industry. Obviously, you want to try and have as many friends as possible because there's not a lot of them in there. But no, so yeah, I jumped into leasing at 18. Just simply, I was playing footy at South at the time, studying full time, and just said to mum, "Can I just have flexibility around leasing?" Ended up going pretty good at leasing. Had a few injuries at footy. Ended up finishing at South and playing rugby at Randwick, and obviously built a pretty good network at Randwick Rugby down there. And I got to sort of 21 and said, I just want to take a jump into sales, and one of those ones where sort of sink or swim. And I worked under Raylan Natalie for probably about 12 months, the sales associate there, tried to learn as much as I could, and then just basically went to sort of jump in on my own. Still had their support, but sort of didn't want to be sort of that sales assistant, wanted to try and build myself. And that's why I think probably now, in comparison to probably a few other agents my age, is that I've probably had exposure to a lot more responsibility for probably 5 or 6 years in the lead up to it, 7 years. And then, it's probably positioned me to, just to progress a lot probably quicker, but also wanting to take that responsibility and take that leap. So a little bit of that risk earlier, but then pays off in the end.
Yeah. How did you go about getting your first couple of listings? What was that like?
Yeah, look, you definitely can't be picky with what you take on. We were laughing about it the other day in the office. I took my first, where was it? My first listing I took on myself was in Ryde Street, Maroubra, 2-bedroom Art Deco. And it's funny, I've sold a few in that street now. It was an owner trying to sell it by herself. She wanted probably $150,000 more than it was worth. Didn't want to pay an agent commission or anything. And I remember I ended up taking it on. At this stage, I had no idea what I was doing, but I thought I'd work it out along the way. And I agreed. It was $1 million unit, or at the time $1 million. Ended up selling for $850. She agreed to a $5,000 commission. Okay, and you sell $5,000 for an $850,000 sale is no agent would do it in the game, but I decided to as a 21-year-old.
See, but being 21, $5,000 8 years ago, you're going,
but that's to the business. That's not to me, right?
Yeah, okay.
So by the time, back then I got a 20% clip, so 1,000, but I worked on it for 4.5 months. 4.5 months, and then by the time your super comes out, the tax man takes a bit. I think I walked away with $500 after 4 months work. And I'll tell you, but that was the best lesson I've ever had, because Raylan and Natalie at the time said, "You're a fool. Do not take it." I took it. And that's when I sort of definitely started to respect fees. But I got a lot out of it. I think I look back, I think I learned a lot on, first, obviously, the value of an agent coming to a campaign, but also, respecting yourself, knowing what you're worth, but then taking, obviously, what I learned out of that, and so obviously running a sales process. And year on year, I've been lucky enough to grow substantially.
Would you say you pretty much sort of doubled every year? I mean, I feel like you've doubled in the last couple of years.
Yeah, probably. I reckon. I really probably took off when I got to probably 25. I think I had a lot of confidence in myself. Started getting a bit more support staff, and sort of built the team around me. In the last 3 years, we've definitely doubled volume every year. I started having my first associate as Matt Power. God, that would have been I think 3 years ago now.
Great golf man.
Oh, he's a very good golfer. Very good golfer. I taught him real estate. He taught me how to hit a ball straight. So,
yes.
And Matty went on another path. We ended up getting Jarvis come on. Really good young agent. I've had a new sales coordinator come on, M. Lamp, who's been really good, and then Dennis Kaczynski recently joined the team. So we've got like a team of 4 now, which just allows us to, like, we're obviously taking a lot more stock. We can make sure we're servicing our stock properly as well, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm happy, but I just think with every time we've, I guess myself, we've grown, I've also wanted to make sure I've got staff around me to make sure that we can continue to grow rather than obviously get stagnant at a certain level.
Yeah. And then, like, you've got a young team. Like, is the stuff you're teaching them just stuff that you've learnt the hard way? Like, especially, like, going back to your first listing, like,
yeah, definitely
4.5 months.
Yeah,
like, what do you teach them? Like, what are you sort of saying?
Yeah, like, I think just being your own person is really important in the real estate industry. I think a lot of people try and recreate an image from other agents they see, and I think you can see the good agents in the industry really take on their own persona, their own approach. And I think that's obviously what makes them unique when, we're sitting down and pitching. Like I was in a pitch in Maroubra the other week. It was me and 4 agents. I was lucky enough to get that one. But the one bit of feedback they had, and looking at the agents I was up against, they said everyone had their own approach. Everyone was really unique. And they said we could have listed with any of you. And that's what I really want to teach sort of the young guys, is that never, it's important to take positives from other agents and continue to grow, but never want to be someone, because the second you be someone, you obviously lose that whole touch of who you are yourself.
Yeah.
And just for them, like, I just, like, work ethic's so important when you're young, as you know yourself. Like I want to, and I think I am surrounded with these people, but I want to have people that want to grow. Like, my thing that I've said to my 2 young sales associates is that I'll succeed when you go as a standalone. Like, that's what I want. Like, my sort of judgment of how they've progressed is when they can go on out by themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not an agent that has my sales associates to be an assistant to me. It's we're a team. You're listing with me. You're listing with the team. Yeah. And I think these guys are good enough to build to be some really good agents in the industry. Yeah. And then build a team as a result around them, and stay obviously and just continue to have the agency grow.
Which is unique, because it's like, I mean, that's a unique position that you're in as well, being like family business. You're going to grow your brand, really, your family brand. Like, there's not agents out there, not too many agents that go, I want to make you another agent. Like, because it's at the end of the day, it's competition, really.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like Richard Branson's obviously, they say he's probably one of the best employees to the staff. And that, honestly, like, I think it's so important. You look after your staff, it comes back to you. Yeah. You want to create an environment where people want to come in, they're excited to work, they're excited to grow, they've got people around them that are pushing them up. Yeah. And like, I think I give that to my team around me. Like, but yeah, like, it's just, I guess, setting expectations young. Like, I wouldn't say I'm on their case, but I'd definitely set an expectation or a standard that I think if they want to succeed, this is what you've got to work towards. Yeah. And they keep hitting those marks week to week. Yeah, yeah. And you get it as well. Like, you get what they're going through. Like, you've done it, like, probably closer than most other people. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, and that's where I just, as I said, I just think progression's so important. Yeah. Like, as I said, I don't want my sales associates sitting there wanting to be sales associates forever. Yeah. I want them to be coming. Like, I laugh. I said I like when they question commission splits with me. Like, I love it. I genuinely love it, because if they're not doing that, they're not hungry.
If they're listening, turn off now.
Yeah, I know. Don't. No, but like, literally, I laugh and I said, like, generally, it means they're hungry. Yeah. I don't want someone sitting back and just taking wage week to week. Yeah. I want someone coming and wanting to set themselves up. Yeah. And that's obviously but like where we're really good in our team is that, like, we actually look at it on a more a win basis or a transactional basis as well. Like, we're like, okay, we've done another transaction. We're looking at, it's not an overall dollar scheme. It's what have we done? Have we got another transaction? Let's get volume. Let's keep happening. Let's look at how we manage this sales process. Did it hit the mark? Are we happy with how the campaign performed? Is there anything we could have done better?
Yeah. And that's like being, young and quick, how important is it being quick as well around that, like changing things?
Yeah, I think, and I think that's obviously the change in real estate now to probably where it was 15 to 20 years ago. Like you look back in the day, it was every sale was an auction process. The agent manages the auction up till a day, sells on the day, or doesn't sell on the day. Where now, like I say, when I sign with my owners, I say the second you sign this agency agreement, you're prepared to sell. That could be a day on the market. That could be a day before auction. It could be on the auction floor. And I literally say we need to stay liquid because, so if the market changes in a second, your buyer profile can change in a second. Your buyer, who may be your best buyer, may be negotiating on something else where you need to make a decision on this within 2 to 3 hours. So it's basically saying to your vendors, be prepared for that.
Yeah.
But
how important is that? Like actually like managing a vendor?
So important.
Yeah.
Like I sit down with a lot of my vendors at the start and just say, I need you to put full trust in my process. And that's where I think a lot of agents will agree in the market right now. If you do not set your vendor's expectation properly from the outset, you're not going to sell.
Yeah.
You're not going to sell. And that's where you'll see a lot of agents miss certain listings or lose certain listings because they try and have that price adjustment the first 2 weeks of the campaign, which some of them have to be pretty substantial. And you lose trust in your vendor straight away by doing that. And I miss business from being realistic on my price setting, and I'm okay with that because I want people that want to work with me, and especially in the market at the moment, this is probably one of the best upsizing markets there's been, given the softer markets, right?
Yeah,
you know that, and then so I take the approach where longevity is so important in this game. So I'm sitting down with an owner, they're going to sell their home to buy something else, or they might have committed on something else. You need to be realistic on their price point. And we go in and work, look, this is your worst case scenario, this is your best case scenario. Work your figures off your worst case because this is one of the biggest transactions of their life. If they're 150, 200,000 in a changeover is a big thing. And if you don't prefab that with them before they do the process, they can end up getting a really bad spot. And we're the ones who get blamed at the end of it. And I don't want a client going around Maroubra, South Coogee saying, Josh screwed me. Because that's not.
Josh told me he was going to get this price.
Exactly.
He couldn't get it. He just did it to get the listing. I had to sell because I've now bought.
100%. And that's never been my approach. As I said, I'm happy to miss business if agents go and tell them what they want to hear. I've always been that very transparent, very straight up. And I think a lot of people have respected that about me. And that's where that longevity comes in because I probably get 60, 70% of my business is repeat or referral or just relationship based.
Yeah. So it's like a snowballing effect of once you've done one, they're a client for life.
Yeah.
They're sort of, because you're putting so much time, trust, effort, love into them, really. That's what, you're saying words like trust.
Yeah.
They're coming back. They're telling their friends about you.
And, and that's unfortunate with the real estate industry. That's probably one of the hardest things to build in this game.
Yeah.
Given there's a stigma around real estate agents. Everyone knows that used car salesman. That's what we fight with every day. So it's how do we get against that? And the hardest thing to actually build in this industry is trust. So if you can have that with someone, they're going to come to you with everything.
Where does this come from? Is it from mum? Is it from growing up in the business? Is it from learning your first listing, 4.5 months on the market?
Yeah. What you mean in terms of that?
Yeah, why? I mean, you don't hear it too often. I want my clients to trust me.
Yeah, I've definitely got it from mum, no doubt. But I think my dad is a big thing.
Yeah,
just seeing him, the community, obviously being involved in the Rabbitohs forever. Now obviously in a position where he's obviously head of recruitment at the Rabbitohs. He's a very good people manager. He's been like that for years, and he's been at South for coming on 21, 22 years. And it's actually having the trust in that playing group and then also having trust in the managers that want to bring people to the club. And you see how people respond. If you can build trust and relationship with people, they're going to come to you. And I think that's in an industry where you're continually chasing people. If you can have people that are coming to you whilst also doing the other, that's how you just continually scale. Get bigger.
Yeah. No, it's so important to connect with someone on a personal level. Are you connecting with them personally? How are you connecting?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the longer I build that relationship with them, you can have different dialogue with them. I try and take that just salesy approach away.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I say to them, you want to build that personal relationship. So when you're having conversations with them and you're turning around saying, I think this is the right decision, that you need to take this or we need to do this, that they're not questioning it. They're not saying, oh, is this just a sales pitch? Is this or that? There's genuine, like, this person cares about me. This person cares about the result here. So like, is it like, I'll be straight up with a lot of people and say, look, I'll be honest. If you were my mum or my dad in this setting or a family member of mine, I would be telling you to sign the contract right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to force you to do anything. It's completely your decision. But if you want my personal opinion, you should be taking this.
Yeah. So and then you leave it up to them.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you can't force anyone to do anything in this industry.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're a fool.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like you could.
And there's plenty out there that do. Like have to, like, especially like someone like who is an agent, they're like already out there. They're loud. They're on top of, and you got like someone who's never done this before, who's, first time they're selling, you have to sign, here it is, go sign. And then they cry about it for the next couple of days. And I've seen it happen.
100%. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And like, it's understanding that these people have come to you to guide them through a process. They haven't come to you to force them. So you can give your opinion, you can obviously position the sale, but at the end of the day, it's completely their decision. It's their biggest asset. If they don't want to sell it, they don't want to sell it. And you can never force anyone to do it, but all you need to do is make sure you can educate them through the process. And that's where it doesn't start from when you start a negotiation. It starts from your listing process, your listing presentation. This is how I manage a sales process. This is how I manage a negotiation.
Yeah.
There'll be stages where there'll be offers. I'll reject them on your behalf, and I'll tell you that. But there'll likely be a stage where I come to you that says, I think this is the best that's there. I think we need to look at it.
Yeah.
And you're going to know when that happens.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be I'm under pressure, I've got to make a call. It's going to be, okay, no, I understand this. Josh spoke to me about it 4 weeks ago. He's kept me in the loop with this whole process between now and then. So now it's time to make a decision. We understand what we're doing. Like I always say to my vendors, we want to be making an educated decision. And it's all the lead up to make sure that you're doing that, to understand who your buyers are, what their feedback is, what their profile is, what other properties they've looked at.
How are you working that out? What's the process like?
It's a number of things. Like I say, you probably got to understand first of all who your buyers are, who's actually showing progression, where their price point's sitting, their willingness to trade, and then the delta between your buyers. Now, you're always like, let's say you've got something on the market with a buyer's guide at $3 million. Buyers typically know, if you're in an auction process, that's where you'd expect to see a negotiation start.
Yeah.
So you might have 4 buyers on there, then understanding, let's look at them. Okay, we've got Blake here. He missed out on a property in Matraville last week. He wants to buy within the next week. Very active buyer. He's got to buy it. He's got a budget to 3.1. He wants to buy in the next week. He's likely not going to be at auction in 4 weeks' time. Okay, so we need to understand if we want to sell to him, it's going to be within the next week. Then Then we've got Reese, for example. He's talking 3.1 to 3.2. He still hasn't sold his place. His place goes to auction the next week to 2. So he's not going to be a buyer for 2 to 3 weeks' time.
How does that conversation go with a vendor? Because you're potentially going to get 100,000 more if you wait, but you could lose.
It's typically a risk reward setting.
Yeah.
And that's generally the way we put it to them. I am to a degree, especially depending on the market conditions as well, what we're seeing week to week. I think the market conditions right now, certainty is very important in a result. Like we had a sale.
Just as in like lock it away. Once we've got it, we're happy with it. That's a fair price.
As long as like not a massive differential, right? Like delta is really important. That's why a lot of my selling is prior to auction. We like to keep control of the negotiation.
Yeah.
Because like realistically, there's 1 to 2 buyers on properties at the moment that are actually at the level in which the vendor is willing to trade. There's probably 3 to 4 that are probably 10% below.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of actually understanding that. So when we're going to a vendor and saying, okay, let's say it's a 3 million, we've got someone at 3.4, we need to seriously look at this because we're looking at Blake is at 3.4. Our next best buyer at 3.2. They're not moving. There's a $200,000 gap. Are you willing to risk that on the auction floor? Yes, this buyer may be lying, but there's also a chance that they don't even turn up at auction. Your 3.4 buyer, if they're not competing, they're probably not going to get to 3.4 on the floor. So it's just weighing everything up.
Yeah, it happened the other day. I bought for someone at auction, Hey, there was no one at the auction. He was the only person, and we got called that day saying he was the only person. I don't know why they weren't trying to wrap it up. He ended up getting it under. He got it 100,000 under what he was willing to pay for it that day if the agent called him to buy it.
Well, like we had a sale earlier this week, and we first sat down with the owners. It was duplex opportunity in Matraville, but it had irregularities on the block. And we sat down with. We had an offer before we even sat down with them on the home at $3 million.
Yeah,
And we sat down and said, look, given you have a few challenges with it, they're speaking with their architect now. If they don't get the feedback like this, price point will change, unfortunately. And we prefabbed it with them. They were aware. And we said, the thing is, it is a very difficult development site. What we're going to do, we're going to look at it as a development site, and then we're going to look at it what a freestanding home is worth. So looked at a freestanding home was probably worth 2.7 to 2.8. Then we looked at it from a development site. If they could do what they wanted to do, it's $3 million. If it's more difficult, it probably comes back to 2.8. So we had the $3 million offer there. Unfortunately, the next day came back, the feedback wasn't right from the architect. They could still duplex it, but a very compromised design. So they said we can do it, but obviously the margin's going to have to be different. The price point's going to have to be different. We ended up sitting back with them the next morning. They dropped their offer from 3 to 2.7. And at that stage, we sat with them and that's why we prefabbed that. They were aware of it. The trust was built. So when we went back, yes, it was a bit of a surprise.
So you gave the answer straight away. What could potentially happen?
100%. Yeah, definitely. Where a lot of agents, I think, would go in your duplex, get on the market, try and use that in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we sat down and said, look, this is what could happen. It did happen, unfortunately, but it wasn't a massive surprise. The price point change was, but then we looked and said, okay, we take out the duplex ability. What's it worth as a home?
Yeah.
What's considered a good result as a home? Went through that at 2.7. We said, look, we're confident on market. You will get 2.7. It's worth running that process. A $10,000 investment. We managed to get the buy to 2.8, and we sat down and
what did you say? 10,000 investment there
for your marketing campaign.
Okay.
Marketing campaign,
10,
and then obviously
to get it going.
And what we sat with them and said, like the duplex development market's always pretty consistent across the board on pricing because it's simply commercial. So there's no emotion. Where when you go on the home buying side, there's a lot more thought process. Does the home suit them? Do they like the location? Do they like the lay of the land?
Do they feel good in it?
Do they want to do the work? And that's where we sat down and said we need to get the developer to 2.8. And we said, okay, now we've got to look at this, right? This developer's willing to take it on, where a lot of them didn't. We probably spoke to 5 or 6 others that didn't want to take it on. We said, okay, well, I think this is your developer buy. Now we're going to look at what it looks like as a home buyer. 2.8 would be considered a good result on the home. And they agreed. And we said, however, do you want to put in the hands of an emotional home buyer, or do you want to go a commercial developer who's ready to trade right now? And they traded that day.
For what price?
2.8.
2.8. They got it sold. Wow.
Yeah, sold it. We sold it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
But that comes from that initial listing presentation, right? Like this is what it is, but this is what it could be if it doesn't.
Yeah.
And then it comes to the fact where they know, they're understood it, they had complete trust in us. They asked our opinion on the price, and we told them straight. And we know that we'll publish this result and it'll be considered a good result.
Yeah.
And then also like looking what we had to take into consideration, like we're selling probably 5 or 6 properties in Matraville at the moment. Like our buyer activity is 2 to 3 people per open home at the moment, which is very low. And that's what we said to them.
What does that compare to like in a market 2 years ago?
Well, an example, we had
3, probably longer now. What's the COVID?
No, but even that, like honestly, there's been a massive shift even in the last 8 weeks coming into the Easter period, coming into the election. We have 2 duplexes in Matraville. We sold one 8 weeks ago. First 2 weeks of the campaign, we had 35 buyers through it, which are great numbers. We've got the other one on now. In 2 weeks of the campaign, we've had 8.
Wow,
massive difference.
What do you do in that situation? Like, what have you been doing in this situation?
Well, what I've said to my team now is that buyer work is the most important it's ever been. So I've actually said let's pull back on our sales prospecting a little bit because we're pretty lucky. We've got a pretty good pool of stock at the moment. And our meetings are who are our best buyers on properties at the moment, who can we shift from certain properties to others to get them sold.
This is the sort of market where the good agents, this is when you need seriously, here's a team, he's going to find a buyer for you.
It's not a market where you open a door and it sells itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And any agent that says that, they're just lying through their teeth. Like,
yeah.
Again, that's where we pre-position at the start. Like, understanding there's 1 to 2 buyers on most things. We really push, in our agency, we need to create the buyer.
Yeah.
We use domain and real estate to assist in our campaign, but we need to create the buyer. Any inquiry that comes in, we call immediately.
Yeah.
Any property that's vacant, we have an inquiry, we get them through the door. We don't wait. My biggest thing is volume through the door, more opportunities.
Yeah.
As a result.
And when you're creating the buyer, so you're walking into, let's give an example, a 3-bedroom apartment, Maroubra. There's not many of them around.
Yeah, no, they're not.
Well, let's go something better. A 2-bedroom apartment. Like, are you going, okay, the person that's going to, like, do you know who's going to buy this? And then are you then giving suggestions on like furniture wise, like for that particular person you're trying to create, or colours or anything like that?
No, not really. Like, to be honest, I always like to say, you stay in your lane. I get stylists for that.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. But no, it's just probably understanding the buyer profile and knowing the market for it. So like a 2-bedroom apartment in Maroubra Beach, it's a first home buyer market that want a lifestyle, executive couple, potentially with no kids that just want to obviously be around the beach, or an investor.
Yeah,
they're your 3 red hot buyers, and then we obviously have all our buyers tagged in our system. That then they go through. Then we basically our team go through, call individually, send direct text messages of buyers that have looked at similar property within the last 6 months, similar price point, and just really build that. So we actually try and have a breakdown of a buyer pool before we actually put it on the market, because we want, we have 2 things to do that. We want to build momentum before the campaign's even started. But also we want to be able to give our owners like valuable market feedback on the pricing to make sure that we're on point with our auction guide or buyer's guide when we go to market, because that's so key.
Yeah.
We usually always run probably a 1 to 2 week process prior to.
Because what is like a drop in price halfway through a campaign? How does that affect a campaign?
Yeah, it just loses all momentum.
Yeah.
And it changes the perception in the market.
Yeah, okay.
I always say to my vendors, you're better to build up a buyer's guide than pull it back.
Yeah,
because you can always make an adjustment. If you've set a guide too low to start and the market's responded really positive to it, you step that up. But pulling it back,
and that puts like the fear of missing out when you put a price up anyway, a price guide. You're going, oh geez, there's plenty of competition. I mean, I when I see a price guide moving, I'm going, oh, geez, there's competition on this.
Yeah, well, typically if a buyer's guide moves, there's either been very strong interest in the early stage of the campaign, or an offer's been made. As an agent, if we reject an offer, we need to adjust the guide in line with where that offer is. But as I said, that's where that pre-market stage is really important, because we're going straight to our vendors. And this is the most important thing. Like, every agent is going to have an opinion on value, and they're going to vary. Every homeowner is going to have an opinion on their value as well. We need to get someone who is generally going to buy a property to tell us what it's worth. And look, realistically, they're not going to tell you exactly what they're prepared to pay, right? But you get a ballpark that you can build on. A lot of that time, we generally have offers on properties, but then we sit across the table like we are now and say, have we got the best out of the property?
Yeah.
Have we got the best out of the property? Have we put in like sometimes we might have 4 or 5 buyers that generally want it in off-market setting, and we have a bit of back and forth that pushes pricing. But then there's other stages where we've got a few people sitting on their hands that we need to, use that urgency of an auction process to progress them. But then new interest presents in the early stage as well.
Yeah. So at the moment, you're generally running auction campaigns, but wrapping them up early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think that the auction process is used for a number of reasons, but like the most thing is to ensure buyers are progressed, create urgency, a bit of obviously competitiveness in the early stage of the campaign. And I think it works in the favour of being able to build a buyer profile, letting the market dictate the value rather than having an owner set an expectation. Like, I'm just so against setting for sale prices. Unless it's an unsuccessful auction campaign, the market needs to see transparency in the price. But going to market and having a for sale figure or a for sale range, the second you do that, first of all, you're always going to set a for sale figure that's probably higher than the vendor expectation, because the market's going to try and knock that back. No one's going to pay a full ask on a for sale price, right?
Yeah.
So they knock it back. But then also, if you're setting it up there, a lot of the time it's off a vendor expectation, and the vendor expectation may not be in line with the market.
So they just put it up for sale on the website. Hopefully someone comes past. Is that sort of what
to
see?
Yeah, well, like you'll get people there, but it's like you're telling people what to pay rather than letting the market. And like, you look at sometimes, like if you're on an auction process, you might put something for sale at $1 million. But there might be a buyer out there prepared to pay 1.112. and you're setting yourself a ceiling where the auction process doesn't set yourself a ceiling.
Yeah.
So there's a few ways to look at it. I just think, especially what eastern suburbs buyers know, they know the auction process because 99% of properties do it. The only times they generally do for sale ranges in the more dense markets around Zetland, Mascot, Botany, because there's a very clear expectation on where things trade.
Yeah.
But if you've got unique property, you're silly to do it.
Yeah. What do you think of those sort of markets as high-rise buildings, Mascot?
Yeah, look, they're obviously very good convenient settings. Close to the airport, close to the city, public transport links. It's just obviously what they're after. Well, it depends what the buyers are really after. You struggle to get substantial growth in them. You do typically they perform well in a rental yield perspective. But you don't see much growth in them over, a 5 to 10 year period. The difficulty is because it's so high density, you don't actually get really much control over your pricing. You're governed by what everything else is, or what everything else is selling for, but also what they're marketing for. Like there's probably, you sell a apartment in Alexandria. We've got one on the market there at the moment. We had a conversation with her only the other day. If you look at Mascot, Alexandria, Rosebery, 2-bedroom apartment, there's 65 on the market.
There's 65 apartments on the market.
So how do you set yourself out a part of that? And we actually use
there's 65 apartments on the market now.
On the market, yeah.
Wow.
And they're all ranging between 900,000 and $1 million. There's not a massive variance in price. So that's why we sit with them and they're all for sale ranges. So we took an auction approach. How do we set ourselves apart? We need people to come to us. We got a little bit aggressive on our pricing to get people through the door.
What's your price guide?
On that one, we did have a buyer's guide $825. We just stepped it up to $880 with the interest we received.
Yeah, okay.
And that's that buyer profile and that buyer. We're due to go to auction on that Saturday week.
Yeah. And you built the momentum into it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where
64 other apartments.
So and that's a change, but that's a difference on us saying how are we going to make this work? How are we going to get people there? Where potentially some of the other agents just put a for sale figure, being like everyone else. But we need to say, how are we going to get the buyer that has 65 apartments they're looking at to look at ours? How do we stand out?
Yeah. And how do you sell an apartment like that? Because I know lifestyle, you've nailed it with the stuff around, beach, coastal. But how do you, what sort of buyers, how do you change?
Look, they're just different buyer profiles, right? People that are living in there, as I said, they like being close to sort of Green Square. They like being close to the city, the airport. They want the modern living, which there's not a lot on offer. Obviously, the more you get closer to the beaches, you got Little Bay as an offering, but again, completely different lifestyle to what Zetland, etc. and
So
Rosemary.
You're more selling on the amenities.
Yeah, amenities, convenience. Yeah, for sure. But people like the more modern feeling, more lift access.
Yeah.
City outlook. It just we're used to the coast because we've grown up at the coast, right?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah. But people that haven't, people that are used to sort of Melbourne city environments and things like that, are relocating to Sydney. That's where they're going to gravitate to a lot of the time.
Yeah, and have you built this knowledge of the buyer profile just on experience, or where does it come from?
Yeah, just over time. You need to know who you're selling to.
Yeah,
and that's the number one thing in sales, right? Is knowing your customer.
Yeah,
and there's no point going to Maroubra Beach buyers for a Alexandria apartment. Yeah. Because they're two different people. So it's just, it's saying who do we need to target to get this sold, really.
And then just going back to the development side, how important is it for you to know development rules, what you can do, how in depth conversations are you having?
Really important. Really important. We...
for Randwick Council, what do people need to know?
We fell in, our agency... I didn't fall into the real estate game. Rayleigh and Natalie had a contact, years ago when they sold their first development site at 54 to 56 Marine Parade.
Mate, I know this one. This is,
the Pavilions block.
Yes.
Yeah.
What tell me, they sold it for was it 3 mil or something? They turned it around. What was it?
No, I think they sold the site for 6.5.
That's six
but
and a half.
But there were two, it was a massive site. It ended up being...
Yeah.
It was 18 properties all up, 12 apartments, 6 town. I can't remember exactly. I was young. Young when they were doing that. But they had a good contact there. They learnt a lot off. And then they ended up doing 90 Marine Parade as well, across from the pool cafe.
Yeah. That's the one I was thinking
that's the one you're thinking.
Yeah.
And that's 4 penthouse apartments. And, at the time, we sold them off the plan for, I think it was an average of $3 million sale price. This would have been back, it might have been 2017. Like we sold those prices for higher than the median home sale price in Maroubra at the time, which is just huge. But it just showed the demand of what like Maroubra Beach was wanting.
And
like
new
that.
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you look at Marine Parade drag now, 116 Marine Parade, 118 Marine Parade, 132 Marine Parade, 130 Marine Parade. They're all doing it because that's where the money's going to be coming to Maroubra along Marine Parade beachfront.
Yeah.
It's something like, so we learned that, obviously learned all about zoning, all about floor space ratio, all about high allowances, obviously what blocks would allow, and then it's definitely a point of difference. Like we can sit down with someone over there, either their R3 or R2 zone site, and go through exactly what you can do on it. And it helps when you're selling as well. Like we've got probably one of the strongest network of developers in the Southeast, to be able to speak to them and let them know about the site, help them, or not even help them, but give them the information they need without them having to go do the digging, so you can get an answer very quickly. And
they're loving it as well because they're getting a call from someone educated going, bang, 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 this is what it is. This is where pricing sort of position for it. What do you think of it?
Yeah, exactly right. And like for a dual lock setting, especially like site costs, what you can look at doing, setbacks, etc., outlook, and then obviously for resale figures.
Yeah.
But also it's important to understand it so you can communicate with your vendors as well. So understanding both sides of that, to understand what your build cost looks like, understand what hold cost looks like with interest rates, understand like your time.
Are you going over those numbers with a vendor
as
well?
Do. Yeah, definitely.
Like to say, okay, this is what the buyer needs to do?
Yeah, because like typically like people think, you sell your site for $3 million, they're going to sell it for $6.5 each. Like $6.5 combined.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty of money in it for them. Well, like, no, there's not really when you look at a $2 to $2.2 million construction cost. You've got obviously your architectural costs. You've got a substantial hold cost, a lot of obviously bank lending. Then you obviously got your GST component. You've got agents fees. You've got marketing fees. So like really the margins are thin.
Yeah.
Especially the market at the moment, construction costs through the roof, interest rates where they are. Like it's actually a very hard market to develop.
Yeah. And then what's the sort of feedback you get when you go through the numbers with a vendor?
It depends on the vendor you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
It all comes down to motivation. I think a lot of the people that understand that a development aspect is going to, like 9 times out of 10, be worth more than the individual home, we prefab it with them. Say realistically, this is what your home's worth as a family home. Anything in excess of that realistically is a bonus, the way I say it, because you've got that development potential. So it's a matter of how do we maximize that and make sure. But like the thing is, what I say to people is that you can put it out. You'll probably have 10 developers all at the exact same mark. It's a matter is there that 1 or 2 developers are willing to pay that little bit more? And that's when you've stretched it. Their margin might be different because they're going to hold it for 12 months and going to rent it, or they're going to own or occupy one of them, so their margin is different because they're not going to have capital gains tax applicable, or company tax, for example. So there's and that's where understanding that process is sitting with the vendor and say, this is your buyer. Yeah, they're paying $50,000 more because of X, Y, Z, or they're buying the site in cash, which means they don't have 6% interest on $2.8 million, which makes a massive difference in their overall return at the end. There's a couple $100,000 saved.
Yeah. Just understanding that is like pretty crucial.
I
would say like it's a pretty key component I think a lot of people miss.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. So it's going through, it's like transparency is just so important in this game. I think a lot of people actually try and take that away in this industry. Transparency is so important because that's how people make their decisions.
And good decisions, and decisions that they're going to be so happy with, and then come back for more.
Well, exactly right, exactly, and that's like you want them to be able to, like, especially my selling clients, like if they sell and then they're going to buy something else, I want them to ring me and say, Josh, what do you reckon this is worth? What do you think of this? And I'm brutally honest with them. If I don't think it's a good buy, I tell them.
Yeah. You've told me a couple of times.
I have. Yes, I have. But you've still bought from me, so that's all right.
Yes.
But yeah, so like I just really pull back and say you just need to have people on side. Longevity is so important.
Yeah. And then how often are you saying like no to someone? Like, no, this is the wrong decision. Like, is that coming up often, rarely?
I wouldn't particularly say to them, no, you're making the wrong decision. I just give them my opinion on it. Because at the end of the day, like if people decide to hold their property or not sell, like it's never a wrong decision. Yeah. It may be a wrong decision if they want to sell right at this moment, but we just look at both sides of the coin. Look, you may not sell. There may be a buyer out there that's willing to pay more, but also there's a fair chance that you lose this buyer. They buy something else, you're going to go backwards on price, and it's just putting that straight to them, and at least that way they're aware that if it does go backwards, that it's a decision that they're comfortable with and they're happy with.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say happy with, but they're aware that that's the risk reward of doing it.
Yeah.
And because we've had deals before where we've had an offer on something where, for example, 4.2 million. They asked us our opinion, and sometimes it's hard because an offer can come very, very easily. And this was in an off-market setting. They went and spoke to other agents to get the business told it was worth 4.5. End up selling at auction for 3.7.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where at times, transparency and building relationships with people can bite in the ass in the end, because you haven't gone on that route of telling them exactly what they want to hear. But long term that they're going to come back and say, you know what, Josh, we made the wrong call the last time, but we really want to have you on board this time.
How do you overcome rejection? Because that's a big thing. Because that's hard.
Yeah, I struggled with it a lot earlier in my career, definitely. But you understand a lot of the time it's not a personal decision, right? It's nothing against you as a person. It's just about. Some people, they might prefer, I just look at how someone chooses as an agent. There's so many variables. Have they sold in the area? What are their fees? What are their commission fees? Are they expensive? Are they low? Do they value, depending on the marketing approach, the sales approach, how they get on with the person individually or the rapport they build? There are so many different factors.
And stuff that you don't even know that they're thinking about as well.
No, you don't. I'll always ask someone why I missed it, because that's important for us to know moving forward. But yeah, and it helps. Obviously, the more volume you do, the more time in the industry is understanding. You just need to go on a transactional basis and say, okay, no worries, we didn't win that one. Let's move on to the next.
Yeah.
Move on to the next. More fish in the sea. But also, you can't get emotional when you miss business either, because there's a fair chance if that agent doesn't sell it, you're going to be their first point of call after. I've had 3 calls in the last week of things that I've missed that are unsuccessful selling. Josh, can we sit down? Can you let me know your approach? What your thoughts on this are? I think actually a lot of vendors struggle to make a choice in agent. Yeah. And a lot of the times there can be 2 people in the door that are extremely as capable of each other, and one just gets to flip the coin. Where in some cases, if it's a good listing and obviously as an agent, when you're getting a listing like that or some of the bigger stuff, it's great for profile as well. So, and obviously a fee at that level is obviously a pretty substantial fee. And a lot of time, you're happy to go halves with an agent. It's still a great fee, but it's more about obviously how we can build profile, how we can obviously, meet more people in that area. So it's more about what this means for us long term, rather than making a fee right now.
Yeah.
Our agency now,
and doing the right thing. Okay, well, how can we do right by the vendor?
Well, exactly.
Here? Yeah.
That's right, and that's why we keep coming back to longevity as well. It's not about the fee you make tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's about where you are in 3-4 years' time in that South Coogee market. We've been our agents have been very lucky. We over the last 18 months, we now hold 3 of the top 4 sales in South Coogee. They hold the highest sale at 19 million. Then another one's 17,150. So we've had some really good traction in that market now. But that comes from being involved in listings like this, building a profile, building obviously a network in South Coogee, but also the buyer network that you want to bring to homeowners there.
Yeah. And some of these guys buying this top end of the stuff, like what sort of people are looking at this stuff? Are they cash buyers? Like, it's a question like heaps of people always ask, like, how do people buy it? Like, what are they doing around here? Because I don't have too many clients that are borrowing 13 mil to buy, or it's something 10 mil to buy something for 15 mil.
Yeah, look, a lot of them have obviously pretty substantial cash backing. It's probably some small degree of lending if they're going to be doing it. A lot of them being successful in business or successful in property. Some people might amalgamate a number of their investment properties in order to do that. But some people are it's like substantial properties in the inner west or on the harbour, that some actually might be particularly downsizing, like that, coming from a $30 million home to 15.
Does that be nice?
Oh, no, it would. But then we actually meet a lot of people in their like 30s to 40s have been really successful in tech. Like IT, software security, things like that have come into money, or not come into money, but successfully built wealth, and then again, smart option, put it into premium real estate that's going to substantially grow.
And then like your connection to them, like someone that's also like built their own wealth, like how do you relate to them? Are you relating on a different level? Like, because like that's very similar to what you've done.
Yeah, look, to a degree. I'd love to be buying $30 million worth of property, but I just think like anyone, if you're just like surrounding yourself with successful people, and building that network to have people to lean on when you need it. So that's where I take more out of is, yes, having a good people to relate to, but also, can I lean on them and how can they help me? And look, how can I help them as well? Like if you have a client that, let's say we've had a few people that have approached us, said, we've got $50 million to spend across 3 properties in, South Coogee, Maroubra, Clovelly in the next 12 months. Then you have someone in your pocket that you can approach almost any home in those areas and say, wow. So,
geez, that's a client to have.
Oh no, they're great. Like we had one client last year that like they had a budget of $40 million and they were asking us to approach people in like Gordon Avenue in Coogee, and like a lot of the time, like when
so these I have a buyer letters. I have a buyer call are legit.
Yeah, they're legitimate. They are legitimate. Yeah, but you got to understand though, like a lot of the time when you're approaching some of these premium homes, a lot of the time it's not a money aspect for them. It's just like a lot of people are buying these for their forever homes.
Yeah.
So it's not even a money aspect for them. It's just it's a matter of I love this home. So at times it can actually be more difficult than just a 2-bedroom buy in Maroubra for 1.5, just bang, done.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just on that, like, so you've obviously building a network, but like how, like for you, your local network, how has that been built? And then how do you do it?
Yeah. Well, look, I've been, it's funny. I laugh. Like I've grown up in Maroubra. My office is in Maroubra. I live in Maroubra. I can't really get away from it. Right. So, but yeah, like I've been like obviously family has a pretty good network. I've been involved in a lot of sport, played for Mascot growing up, all through the South Juniors. Then obviously played 20s at South.
Played for Mascot? I would have thought you were...
No, I was a Mascot boy. Yeah,
okay.
No, well, yeah, Dad played at Mascot.
Yeah.
And
what's Sea Eagles? Malabars?
Southeastern.
Yes.
They're the arch rivals. I played 1 year at Southeastern as a 17-year-old, but I'm loyal to Mascot. But yeah, played there, and then I've always just been out and about doing things like around gym, sort of surf club, things like that. Just got to know people but then look, obviously real estate, you're meeting people every week, right? Like you meet probably 50, 60 people a week. Yeah. So you get good at remembering names and faces pretty quickly. But,
and what do you like? So you're walking around Maroubra. Are you like saying hello to a lot of people?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So like let's say you've had a massive night. Like it's Sunday morning. Like what are you hood on, head down? What are you doing?
Nah, sunny's on, hat on, coffee in hand from Johnny's. Yeah. And then I'm good to go.
Yeah.
So like,
and you're working.
I did like the Maroubra Coogee community. They're all good people. So like, like you want to speak to them. Sometimes, like I must say, like if I get asked a real estate question, sometimes on a Sunday, I'd probably prefer to say, let's talk about the surf instead. But but no, it's just part and parcel with the game.
Yeah. And what about your footy background? Because I'm not a massive footy head. Like I'm from a family of footies. But like I feel like you would talk footy a lot. Like how does that help with rapport with buyers, vendors? How much does that come up? I must say,
any appraisal I go into and I see a Rabbitohs sticker or something Rabbitohs, I'm on. Yeah. Nah, so like obviously the Rabbitohs and sort of the Maroubra Southeast community it's like it's almost religion down that way, right? So it's always like it's a good conversation starter, and obviously the family connection things. Dad's been in the industry in the area for 60 years. Grew up in Maroubra himself, down the beach. Went to Marist at Pagewood, so it's always a good conversation starter.
And some of the players that come or that are playing with South, are you helping them also buy property?
Yeah, so like we've got a number of boys that either manage rent their properties through us, or they rent properties from us. Bought and sold for a few of them. I try and have a few of them obviously use me as a sort of a bit of a network to when they need to do things.
Yeah. And are you giving advice around like, okay, now's the time you should be buying because like they've come into, especially some of the younger guys that you would work with from South, like are you giving them some advice like, let's get into the market?
Yeah, look, to be honest, I'd probably leave it more for them to reach out to me.
Yeah.
That's the one, like we never want to, like I've never, like Dad and I have always agreed, I never want Dad to push anyone to me from South. It's more if they want advice to come to me. We don't want to look like steering anyone in any direction. So it's always been like
it's separate.
Yeah, 100%. It's always been like that. And then, but yeah, at the same time, like I said, I've played with a lot of these boys growing up. So they touch base when they need to and certain things. And I like being there and being able to help them. But yeah, I don't go chasing it sort of thing. It's just more if I can help them.
Yeah, just being genuine.
Yeah,
good
exactly.
Bloke.
Just
You're
a guy that can
call
ring and give me a call if you need a hand.
Yeah. And then your footy background, I mean, how much does that play in how you do things today? Like
yeah, it's just massive competitiveness, right? So like it's like when I was playing 20s at the club, when Michael Maguire was a coach there and Ben Gardner was a 20s coach, and both very similar coaching styles, like very you're responsible for what you put in. You get out what you put in, and also like that work ethic is so important. And so yeah, like it's I always say you create your own luck, create your own opportunities. If you want to, especially in the real estate game, so volume's massive. You just need to be locked in, really. Like you want to be you want to be disappointed if you miss something. You want to be like you're disappointed if you lose a game in footy. Like you want to be winning, and if you're not winning, what's going wrong? How do you improve that?
Yeah,
and that's where that team base really comes into it with me and my guys around me as well. It's that like we're winning together. It's not just I sell something. It's like no, we as a team sell something together.
So being coached by someone like Michael Maguire, I mean, are you using the same sort of tech or style of coaching in your team? Is there any aspects that you've taken away that you can sort of think of?
Well, I wouldn't say like, it's like one thing about Madge, like very genuine care about the players.
Yeah.
And that's why, and like very similar to Wayne Bennett as well, the way they manage people. But like Madge was very on the, you push hard in the field, you get everything, but knowing that he's doing this to get the best out of you. And that's a bit with my team. Like there'll be times where I'll be on their case. Like your volume isn't where it is. You need to pick that up. But I'm only doing this because I know you're capable of it.
Yeah.
And I know what you can be in a few years' time if you just knuckle down.
Yeah.
Knuckle down. Like Dennis in my team, 18-year-old, came in. I interviewed him not knowing he was an 18-year-old. And this kid well beyond his years. And I remember ringing the recruiter and I said, yeah, I want him. We'll get him. I want him because I just knew what he could be. And like he's doing things that I wouldn't have dreamed of at 18. And like having people like that to say, okay, if you take them under your wing, show them the ropes, but also look after them, create an environment that they want to come to work, then you're going to get the best out of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like same as Jarvis in my team. Like he's been with me just over 12 months. And the difference, so he came on, he'd been in real estate for about another sales team for about 9 months prior. We was doing a lot of the running around work. I got him in, gave him responsibility, a lot more buy work. Like he's running listings by himself now.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and that's like I wouldn't have thought he'd get to that, but he's just kicked on so well, and he just loves real estate, loves his job.
Love it. Because that like burnout or that like you're always pretty much switched on in this game. Like how do you manage that? And how are you filtering that through to
We
your
just
team?
try and bring a lot of energy, and we try and actually lock in together. So we'll do call sessions together, volume, bang, let's just get it out. But also, like I say to the boys, like there's a bit of flexibility in the role. Like I say, like for the stadium club, for example, at Ellison Stadium, like got a few passes there. Boys have them. I said, like, if you're having a day where you're just overwhelmed, full on, leave early, go clear the head, have a good session, spar, come in the next day. You know what I mean? Like I'm a big thing. Don't sit at your desk. If you're not there, look after yourself. Reset. Like I'm not a person that you work 7 till 7. If stuff's there to be done, 100%. If we need to get something exchanged, we get something listed, 100%.
It's now time to switch on. This is the
for
last
sure.
10 minutes and we're down.
And we don't get me wrong, as a team, we enjoy ourselves. We'll celebrate the wins. We have a good month or a good quarter. We'll go out and have lunch, blow off a bit of steam together as a team. But then come Monday, we're back in, we're locked in, we know what we want to do.
Yeah. And you're leading from the front. You're doing it yourself as well.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I try to.
Yeah. And then in terms of your leadership, are you getting in early, you're leaving last? What's your thinking behind that?
Well, look, obviously I've got my little guy now, so
Yes.
I'd like to be in a little bit earlier. But I'm not going to sit here and say I'm first in, last out every night. But I try and set an expectation. Like I'm always on the phones. I'm always getting things rolling. Set an expectation that if I've got to stay in the office till 10 o'clock at night to get an exchange done, I'll get it done.
Yeah.
It's probably one thing with me. I probably don't separate myself enough from my work at times. I'm generally always on. So I'll be taking calls at home at 7:30 in the morning if they're coming through.
Yeah.
And so
that's a lot, especially with mum and dad's. Yeah, with a young family.
Yeah.
That's when they're calling.
That's where. Yeah, but also with me, I'll pick up the phone. I'll let a client know. So if he's screaming in the back, it's my 1-year-old son. So you prefab it. But yeah, no, it's almost I try and say it's similar to a footballer with injuries, for example, right? You can train, but if you don't listen to your body, you're going to burn out. Yeah. You're going to fall apart. I don't want people hating their job. I don't want them coming in and just saying, "Oh, I'm so over this job." If you're getting that stage, reset, have a day or two off. Come in because I want people come in. You get the best out of people when they're happy in their role.
I took my first day off that I've done since in 6 years the other day.
Yeah.
Just took a full day off, just sat in the sun all day. Switch off the phone. I felt so good.
It's
my mum was very concerned. She was going, "What's wrong with Blake? Why is he's never taken a day off?"
I know. I must say, and that's probably part of the performance, but I do get anxious when I'm not doing.
Yeah, it's working. So hard.
Yeah, and switch off, and that's probably one thing I'm trying to work on is letting go of control in some aspects of the business.
Yeah.
But that comes obviously experience and time. But I feel you with that, having a bit of time to yourself.
Yeah. And even when we're sick, we're working. We push.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're doing a podcast on Good Friday.
That's it.
But yeah.
Now you've said when we've done it, I'm going to have to get this out quick now.
Yeah, you better. So,
mate, even to the point, I've had drips while I've been at work. I had a client come in the other day, dropped off the bottle of champagne while I'm sitting at a drip. And she's a young client, 22, and she's going, "What the fuck? What the fuck is going on here?" I'm sitting at my desk working with a fucking drip in my arm.
Well, I love I remember I did a Europe trip last year, and I'm you're setting your Zoom calls with vendors at they're getting up, and it's 5 p.m. in Spain, for example. 5 p.m. in Spain, you're there on a Zoom call with them. And just getting work done. But that's just an expectation that this industry has, I feel.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to do my first Europe trip. So tell me, what was that like?
No, it was good. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
But how did you manage the work holiday experience?
I just tried to probably knock out 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
It does it seems like a lot, but it's not really.
Yeah.
I'd just get up. I'd get up early, get on my emails, sort everyone for the day. Before my wife or little guy was up. Just try and knock it out, get it done. Then you just feel comfortable for the rest of the day as well. I'm not thinking about things.
You've actioned it. You're on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I could check something later on in the day. For example, if something was obviously if there's urgent things, I'm on it straight away.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the industry. It's what you sign up for.
Yeah.
But I'd try and get the team sorted to know everything that was happening for the day, get that sorted, and then obviously if there's important vendor calls and new listing calls, getting something sold, I just get on a quick Zoom call.
See, people like when they look at real estate, they go, unreal car, looks good, is the man or is the woman. They're just killing it, but they don't know that you're in Europe working.
Yeah, I know.
Like people miss that.
Yeah, look.
And you're thinking all day, like, how's it all going? What's going on? I'm sure you're checking your emails throughout the day anyway.
Oh, yeah, God. I think I go through phones like every 12, 18 months. They just burn out because I'm on it so much. Yeah, but like it's you work your ass off.
Yeah.
Any age will tell you that obviously wants to succeed, like you lock in. Like the way I've sort of set it up is that I'll be honest, I don't want to be working like this in my 50s and 60s. Like I know I'll be burnt out. There's no doubt. But I want to try and set myself up, to have an agency that, essentially runs itself down the track. I'm, surrounded by a strong selling team and property management team that, I get to a stage, and that's where that longevity part's important, where you're later stage of my career, that I've had clients for 30 to 40 years that'll come to me and say, Josh, can you run this for me? Can you sell this? And I'll still always keep in touch with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
But am I going to be making 100 calls a day to be prospecting? Probably not.
Yeah. What's your call volume like now?
I'd like to probably hit around probably 90 to 100 connects a day. Wow. So actually connecting.
So that's like what, 250, 300 calls a day to
probably
connect?
200.
200, yeah.
220
to connect to 90 to 100.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's full on.
Wow. And is that buyer work? Is that?
Or I just say like buyer progression, vendor progression.
Yeah.
New listing generation.
Yeah.
We're hard to get on the phones at times.
What is your day-to-day, week-to-week look like? Do you have a set program? This is what we do Mondays. This is what we do Tuesdays.
I try not to lock in too much. I lock in a number of sales meetings. I probably only try and get on my emails probably twice a day, morning, afternoon. A lot of like days just include a lot of listing presentations, a lot of meeting with vendors. Obviously just going out and meeting prospective property owners. I probably don't do a lot of private buyer appointments. I do leave that for my team more to do.
Yeah.
But obviously when it's an important buyer or a progressed buyer, that's when I'll typically go. But yeah, the day-to-day stuff is really managing my vendors to get them to a position where to sell, assessing the market to understand if there are any other directions that we need to take on our strategy. Like the way I sort of run my team is that when I sit down with a vendor and let them know that I run all strategy on your property, I'll handle all negotiations on your property, I'll handle all dialogue with the vendor direct. When it comes to my team, like Dennis, Jarvis, they basically manage all buyer inquiry. They progress all buyers to a stage where there's interest there, and then they pass them on to me.
Yeah.
They will also prospect as well, don't get me wrong, they're prospecting, but their day-to-day is really pushing buyer work. And then we have M, who just runs all our administration, our campaign start to finish. The second I sign an agreement, M takes it on, gets prepared for work, prepared for market, any work's done, all property visuals, all campaign timing, and get it. So I just say that I just want to be focusing on the most important parts of your campaign. Because if you've got me handling photography, handling floor planning, speaking to buyers that don't have the budget for your style of property, like my resources aren't going to the right section.
Yeah. And like a lot of like, I guess, do you find like a lot of vendors miss how important a good team is? Like because I feel like you're going, a lot of people, well, you go to a listing presentation, you present yourself. Are you more presenting also your team and what the team's going to do?
Definitely. Yeah. I'll typically take my team will work on all of our listings, but I'll typically have like Jarvis and Dennis split on different stock, which I think, depending on what they're selling with me at the time, like if Jarvis is on a number of duplexes with me, he's built a rapport with a number of buyers, I'll continually put him on duplex stock with me because it doesn't make sense to put Dennis on there when Jarvis has been dealing with all the buyers there.
Yeah.
Then if Dennis is doing townhouse stock, in Maroubra or South Coogee, makes sense to have him staying on that. So I'll typically take them either one to my listing presentation as well as M. So then at least that way that they know that M's going to be speaking to them, on multiple occasions throughout their campaign in terms of preparing it week to week, your inspection times, etc. So they know sort of what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there is such a important. Like we really push communication with our vendors. Like we have a WhatsApp group with our entire team. We're speaking to them multiple.
So your team's also communicating to a vendor?
Not when it comes to actually buyer work or just general, not buyer progression or negotiation, but just typically like they'll about like preparation for market, and we'll be speaking to them about, we're going to come and do this week. We're going to do this week. Like Jarvis might flick a message if he's taken a buyer through privately and said, hi Blake, I just want to let you know he's had a really good buyer inspect the property, they've taken a contract. Josh will touch base with them tomorrow.
Yeah.
So all those little things that it reassures them as well to know that things are happening day to day. Like we're not just going to call you once a week and say, this is what's going on. It's like almost every day.
We'll have that set meeting once a week. This is the only time we chat. And I'm
exactly.
Come and see you, but this is it.
Yeah, but also like I just love like face-to-face weekly vendor meetings really important.
Yeah.
As well.
What are you going over week to week?
We're going over week to week. Obviously, buyers we have on the property right now, what our inquiries looking like week to week, if there's been any substantial changes in that. Are there any marketing elements that we can either upgrade, change, or pull back on that we think are going to be beneficial to the campaign? What's listed in competition, what their price points are, how that's going to affect ours, and then obviously what's traded. So looking at the market environment, the buyer pool that we have, and how we're going to get the best out of it.
Okay.
Because there's some times where I might have to sit and say to the owners, we need to pull the trigger in this next week because this campaign that's just come on, we've got 4 of our buyers looking at that. We need to put the pressure on them now to get it sold.
So like knowledge of the market and what's upcoming, I guess even talking to other agents, like that's pretty crucial.
Yeah, of course. 100%.
Yeah.
And having relationships with certain agents in the area so they can like let you know what's happening in their campaign as well.
Yeah.
That's really important.
And then like, are you talking like off market stuff with other agents potentially as well, or they keep that pretty close?
Yeah, they'll keep that pretty close. Like they will tell you, but you never actually, I'm not too concerned on off market stock because buyers typically aren't too urgent around those because there's no firm timeline. Like if my property's going to auction next week, they're going to prioritize mine over an off market if they want it. Obviously. Yeah. So yeah, it's more just understanding. Like I speak to agents, how's your campaign tracking on this one? And so when I sit down with a vendor and say, Blake from X Real Estate said he's having very similar buyer traction to us, and they're actually seeing the similar buyers through. Like the duplex marketing matchable at the moment is probably 3 to 4 buyers that are actively there, but there's 12 listings on the market. Those same 3 to 4 buyers going through everything.
Yeah.
So how do you get them to yours?
So you'll just jump on a call and be like, bang, he's selling that, bang. And you might even have the conversation, how did that buyer go?
Yeah, no, legit. I said, like, who are your buyers? Or we got this XYZ buyer come through. Yeah, they have, yeah. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, it's, as agents, you're going to be meeting the same buyers. It's how do you get them to buy yours? Or do they prefer your stock? Yeah.
And then like going into like once they have bought and like potentially they bought an investment property, you've got a really good property management team and that your mum built the business off the back of property management, right? It was first.
Yeah. So Rayleigh and Natalie first, so they both obviously left the respective offices they were in. They worked together years ago and always sort of kept in contact and came back together. And basically they honestly, they hired an office space, fitted out with secondhand furniture, and they basically invested a bit of money each and said, if this doesn't work, we can walk away. And before they even opened their doors, I think they had organically grown the rent roll to about 30 or 40. Yeah. And they've organically grown the rent roll ever since today. Like the way the business is sort of run at the moment is like the way they built the business before I got pretty heavily involved was a lot of time was Natalie was a generator, Raylene was a manager. So Natalie would bring him in, Ray would hold on to him.
Love it.
And they've said they've had clients there, like they've got clients now that they had with their previous agencies and they've been dealing with for like 30 years. And to have a client like that, like it's very hard to do these days with, a lot of agent prospecting, a lot of agent dropping fees, things like that. But that's why I always push so much on relationship based.
And how important is the piece of property management looking after those potential? Because they're like listings potentially there. Like,
they are, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. We try and service quite a bit. Like we'll let them know what we're selling. We don't do a hard pitch in our landlords. We'll just ring them and say like, oh, Blake, we've listed an apartment on Marine Parade near where you are. look, I know you're probably not looking to sell it, but this is our guide. Do you want me to let you know how it eventually sells?
Yeah.
And just general servicing that. We obviously send out newsletters, we have property updates. We obviously want them to come to us if they're going to sell it. So it's more, and I think we've got that relationship with a lot of people where they can ring us. Like a lot of our landlords just ring, how's the market going? And like we'll be straight up, like right now the market's probably softer, probably not a great time to sell unless you need to. What I'd recommend, let's get a tenancy on for another 6 months. Let's renew it for 6 months, see how it is. After potentially an interest rate cut in May, market conditions might improve for spring. But again,
which you don't hear.
Sorry,
you don't hear that ever.
No,
let's lease it out for 6 months and let's attack it in a good market.
But that's these are the things that you build those relationships with people long term.
Yeah,
like we have clients that'll buy a property and they just ring us. We didn't even know. Oh yeah, we just bought a unit in Randwick. Can you lease it out for us? Like yeah, for sure.
Done.
Yeah.
And then how many properties are coming off the rent roll every year? Like as a percentage, like is it? Would you know roughly?
What's selling or
what's selling? Like as in like what are you picking up off the rent roll?
Look, I wouldn't say like a massive amount. Maybe sort of 3%.
3%, yeah,
somewhere around that.
Yeah.
So
like as a long term agency builder for Ellison Zulian, you're going, well, we want to grow the rent roll as well because it's also how we can maintain our.
Well, that's what you sell. That's what you sell at the end of the day as well, right? Your rent roll. So that's what you obviously want to build as a business.
It's a value of the business is the rent roll.
Exactly.
It's not the sales agents.
No, exactly. But
because agents can just leave.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the I think like a rent roll can be obviously a good sort of pipeline to have repeat sales. So I don't think you should particularly rely on that. It's not bad. I really focus on it's all contact generation. You need to be a person that's bringing someone value in that market, and that's where building your network around when you've sold something in an area. So when you list something in that area again, you got 40 to 50 people to speak to. You need one of them to convert to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
And those are the best calls. So like you end up your cold call changes to a warm call the next time. You've got that relationship with them. Or I sold something in Hague Street when we spoke to them last time. And then you ring the next time. I've listed something in Bing Street, just a few doors down from you. I know. I remember when you rang Hague Street.
Yeah.
And you end up having you can have a laugh with them at the end. I'm not doing my job if I don't ask you. Would you consider doing something with your own place? And it's such a different conversation to have with them rather than saying, oh, if you get the right number, would you sell it? So like, oh no, can I ask you do you have any plans, or do you want me just to give you an idea for your future decision making?
Yeah. Okay. Just a more soft approach.
Well, yeah.
Or not even soft, just normal.
Not salesy.
Yeah.
Get rid of the salesy.
Yeah.
I secured a listing the other day, Maruba, and their exact words were, "You're the most normal person we met."
Wow.
And that that's what I try to embody, because if you ask someone to explain a real estate, you know how they're going to explain it: shiny suit, slick back hair, shiny shoes. Where, I don't get me wrong, I still try and dress nice, but I want to be having people come in that you're a normal person who's good at their job.
Yeah. And just on that, I'm not do you see the suits sort of moving away from suits in
it's definitely
look,
I don't know,
I only thought about it just then, but
you get people that are sort of pushing the envelope a little bit more in terms of sneakers with a suit or a t-shirt with a suit, things like that. I'm not like that.
But you're not a big fashion man. We're not talking. You're not a fashion man.
No. I'm a standard suit guy.
Yeah.
I'll mix it up with a tie or no tie. That's me.
Yeah. Because even ties formal now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just think I think presentation is very important.
Yeah.
You want to create that impression when people are coming into properties as well, right? Yeah. Because that's where people will judge you when you're opening a property up. So is the property looking its best? Are the people that are presenting the property looking their best?
And you present yourself as the professional, as the advisor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And tell me, what's next for Ellison Zulian? Now you're a director of the business. You're pretty much leading the charge now. What's next on the cards? What do you see in the next 5-10 years? Where do you want it to go?
Look, just continual growth, I think, really. Look, obviously, we've taken the second office space down at the beach now, which has allowed us to really just expand the office, having a complete property management department, sales department. Probably for me, I just want to keep building my team, building volume. We have our goals that we want to kick every 6 months. If we keep hitting that, that'll allow our team to continually grow. I think, as it's just, we're in a very strong growth mindset. Like the last 3 years have been pretty substantial growth, and it just wants to keep going. Rayleigh and Natalie are on the same page as well. I think it's just the more people we can have, more experienced individuals in our team, just allows more business to gravitate as a result, more volume. I just think we're in that stage where we just want to keep hitting a lot of volume and really taking control of certain markets, and then potentially look at expansion down the track.
Yeah. Yeah. And is there any areas, like, are you focusing on the sales piece, or do you want to continue to grow property management? Is it just both, same?
Me at this stage is just really sales focused approach.
Yeah.
Like Rayleigh and Natalie are probably focusing a little bit more on the PM side, and they've got a good team around them now. They're doing that, but like we would just want to focus on listing, selling. And that'll help the management profile as well, because we'll be bringing investors that are buying properties through us that we pass on to our team to take on.
Yeah. And just tell me, like, we haven't really touched on it, but from like a buyer's side, like, what are some mistakes, or what are some things that buyers should be doing to buy property from you?
Yeah, we had this conversation as a team the other day, and it's probably more advice for first home buyers because they're new to the process, right?
Yeah. Do
not make an offer if you're not willing to buy the property. That is my absolute pet hate in the industry, because it happens all the time. First home buyer properties all the time.
What do they do? Is it just like a low ball sort of thing?
No, they'll make offers. But like we had a negotiation in Alexandria. We had 2 buyers. Like they had the contract review, had everything, and then got to a stage where it was ready to trade. Offer was accepted. So there was 2 buyers. Obviously, we ended up committing to one. The other buyer was, okay, preparing a contract. Oh, no, I'm negotiating another property as well. I was like, pardon? Oh, no, we're negotiating another property. I said, I specifically asked you, is this the only property you've made an offer on? Oh, yeah, but in the process of being in the negotiation, we made an offer on something else as well.
I didn't think people were doing that.
But the worst thing was, then I went back to the second buyer. I said, look, you're $10,000 short, but the owner is happy to sell to you if you're willing to trade today. Oh, and I'm negotiating on something else as well. And then both buyers didn't buy it, and there's a few buyers were burnt the process of doing that.
Because like you're doing the ring around, getting everyone up, they're going, nah, I'm out. And then you're going, great, I've got 2 more buyers. They then drop out. You need to go back to the original buyer.
We need to adjust our entire approach again and drop the buyer's guide back to re-engage people.
Yeah. And then what does that make, like, how does that change you working with that particular buyer again? Like, does that change, like, if they're trying to buy something else off you down the track?
Oh, look, no, like, it's nothing personal, but it's probably just more an educational piece. And how serious you take that buyer on the next negotiation.
Yeah.
And I'll say straight, like, I'm not taking an offer from you until it's on a signed contract.
Yeah.
And that's nothing personal against you, but the way it went last time, because it doesn't look great on us.
Yeah. Because
an owner's position to sell, then we're ripping both buyers out from under them.
Yeah. And that rapport building piece from a buyer's point of view, like, how important is that?
Yeah, look, it's important because they, like, a lot of the time, obviously, our job at the end of the day is to get the best price for the vendor. And a lot of the time they think we're trying to, to push everything, burn buyers in the process, which we're not. But we have an expectation at times that we need to hit. And that's obviously the conversation. Like, a lot of the time buyers will ask us where they need to be, and we tell them, but they don't want to get there. So it's like, okay, well, you need to understand we need to hit this range to sell the property. So if you come in this range, it's sold. And I'm very transparent with buyers as well, saying if you hit this range, I will sell it to you. But also understanding that if there are 2 or 3 buyers that hit that range, it ends up having to be, obviously a bit of back and forth or a best and final.
Yeah.
And saying that, do you want to be involved in that? But if you don't, I need to know where you're at, and I'll tell the owner, and then it's their decision to make.
Yeah. And then just like on like some negotiation tactics that buyers can use to make them buying the property better or quicker or actually securing it, what can they do?
Like actually presenting formal unconditional offers.
Yeah. On a contract?
Sign contracts, unconditional with 66W and deposit check or ready to pay an EFT.
Do you want to have it printed, or are you an email? I used to do back in the day. I used to tell all my clients, print them off. We're going to drop it to the agent.
An email, like with the signed contract attached, holds the same weight.
Yeah.
I just what I always say is that if if you want to buy a property and you want the agent to be on your side, I need something that I can actually take to my vendor and say, if you sign here, the property's sold. And it holds so much weight.
Yeah.
Because then at least you put it in front of the vendor, you're letting them then make a decision on what's actually in front of them. If I'm just saying verbally, I've got someone, do you want to do it? Like, there's a lot that can go wrong between a verbal and an exchange, right? Like, you got to, like, so that's why you've got to have all your due diligence done first. That's where it's so important to have contract. Like, you can make the best offer, but if your terms don't suit the vendor, they're not going to take it.
Yeah. From a buyer, like, terms are pretty key. Like, what sort of questions should they be asking?
Oh, it depends obviously what's in the contract, but like if you want to be the strongest offer, settlement period is obviously important, either working with what the vendor needs, or if it's a standard settlement, seeing if there's any potential to maybe even shorten that. Like standard settlement 6 weeks. We had a sale in Maroubra where they did 4 weeks.
And what was the reason why they did 4 weeks?
The owner was an investor.
Yeah.
Like the offer was a fair offer.
Yeah.
But I was trying to make it obviously more competitive for the owner and make it obviously look better from the buyer's perspective as well. The tenant had just moved out. It's going to be 6 weeks vacant. So, obviously I think their repayment was about $1,000 a week. So I said, if you pulled your settlement back on earlier 2 weeks, which makes no difference for the buyer, for the owner, it's an extra $2,000 in their pocket.
Yeah.
Do that. And then, like, obviously, if you're in delayed settlement, paying a 10% deposit rather than 5%, giving the owner certainty that if they're going to have to wait 6 months, they've got 10% deposit in trust if you don't complete.
Yeah. Because like, if you do put down a 5% deposit, you're still liable for the 10. But fuck, like, good luck getting the 10.
You got to go after it, and a lot of owners probably wouldn't do that. They get it back on the market. So just having say that the deals that go well are the buyers that listen to the agents and the vendors that listen to the agents to put things together.
Yeah.
Because we're employed to get it to transact, right? We're employed to put a deal together. Obviously that we're working for our vendor, but at the same time we need to make sure that we're getting a buyer in a position to buy the property.
Yeah. And then how important is speed from a buyer's point of view? Like, how quickly should they move on something?
I probably am one of the more impatient agents in the game. I want things happening ASAP. I'm just a firm believer that time kills deals. So if it's ready to be done, let's get it done. We shouldn't delay it. Because if you give people an opportunity to sleep on it or go and speak to their uncles, cousins, stepbrother, son, and get an opinion from everyone under the sun, their decision is going to change. And most people actually tell you no. So it's like, really, when you are looking to buy property, be careful who you speak to and who's in your team of people, because even family, a lot of the time, family will shut good opportunities down. 100%, definitely. I think leaning on the people that you're working with, your broker, your solicitor, the key people around you, like, speak to. If you have family that have been, heavily involved in property, lean on them.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have I come to you and say, "Can I do this deal? Can I lend it? Should I do it?" You know what I mean? Like, it's important, because they're the people that experience in these industries that are going to guide you through the process.
That have done it before, and getting the advice from the people that are, I guess, doing it every day as well.
Well, like, obviously we've done a few deals here. You've represented the buyer, I'm the selling agent, and it makes such a difference, especially when the buyer's saying, I'm working with Blake, or I'm working with Aaron O'Rourke at Coogee. He's like one of the best solicitors to work with in the deal, because they understand how to get the buyer positioned to buy the place. Yeah, and that's what they want to do. Yeah, no, because it's a crucial role in what we offer. Is like, I'm here to help you actually buy a place, and I'll help you, coach you through the negotiations, what you need to do, but also be realistic on, okay, well, where do you see value in this place? Great. Okay, this is I see value at that level as well. Let's hit that. Let's put it on a signed contract. 100%. We don't need a low ball. Like, that low balling just pisses you off as an agent. And that's what I always like. We do quite a lot of buyers agent referrals as well. Yeah. And then that's the thing I always get in with buyers and speaking to them is like, you need to have someone in your corner to help you transact. And that's what a buyer's agent, or yourself as a broker and things, your team around you are there to do. People have a misconception with buyer's agents that, they obviously they've got a fee, but they're going to buy it for me as cheap as possible. Like, no, that's not what they're employed to do. They're employed to educate you. They're employed to assess the property pricing. You employ them for the relationship that they have with an agent. So when they're coming, like, I love dealing with buyers agents because they know the value of the place and they're not here to screw you. They're here to get a transaction done.
And they're here to get you in the property. Because let's say you don't buy this place and nothing doesn't, or something's always wrong for the next 12 months with all these other properties you look at. There's always going to be something you don't like about a property. It's
never perfect. Never perfect, ever.
Yeah. And I think having someone just to go, look, you are making the right decision. I think that's key. And I think buyer's agent as an industry is something that's going to continue to grow.
Oh, it's substantial growth the last 5 years, and it's only on the up.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, when you're dealing with like someone like who's an expert like yourself, like negotiating king, it's daunting for a first home buyer or any buyer. Like if you're like, even like your $15 million guys that have built a massive tech business, their bread and butter is not property. So having someone in your corner, buyer's agent or just anyone that can to do it for you, it's pretty key.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. And tell me, Josh, to wrap it up, where does the market go in the next 12 months?
Oof. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think old mate Donald Trump's going to have a bit to say about that. But all I'm really looking at is probably our next few months and what I expect to see. The next 3 weeks, nothing's going to be happening. So if you're selling, hold your stock till probably second week in May. Look, I'd probably lean on you a little bit more for this, but I think there is going to be a cut second week in May.
Yeah, that's what the market's pricing as.
And a pretty
0.5% as well.
Exactly, a pretty fair cut. I think that should hopefully push a little bit of activity. There's going to be a lot of stock. Typically, when there's a rate cut like that, take 4 to 6 weeks to actually see it come into effect.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a bit more activity. I can't see massive skyrocketing in pricing, if I'm honest. I think there's just got to be a little bit more consistency across the market. I think at the moment we're just seeing a lot of unsuccessful selling campaigns, a lot of choice for buyers. I think that may change. A few more people might come back in the market.
Yeah, no, love it.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, mate, I'm on the same page. I think it will definitely, rate reductions is going to be massive for the property market in the next 12 to 24 months. Is it going to happen overnight? No. But it's coming. Like definitely. 1.5% on an interest rate chain is huge on a budget.
100% it is. 100%.
Yeah, and it increases your borrowing capacity.
I think spring's going to be interesting this year. A good time. Good time.
All right, we'll bring it on.
Awesome.
Watch your space. Mate, for everyone listening, Josh is a man of his word. He calls a spade a spade. So, Josh, how do people reach out to you? How can they work with you?
Obviously, office space down 31A McKean Street in Maroubra. Obviously, servicing anywhere from really Bondi through Little Bay. We're not selective in what we sell. But look, give me a call. 0452 495 996 is my number, or pop in the office.
Love it. Joshy, welcome. Thanks, everyone, listening to Pack Chart. Catch you on the next one.